My daughter told me she didn't need me. She said I was bitter, jealous, and overreacting, all because I refused to smile at the woman who broke my marriage and took my home. She called her mom now, the woman who wore pearls and poison like perfume. I raised Lena alone for 12 years, through asthma attacks, school bullies, scraped knees, and midnight fevers. And with one birthday dinner and a few filtered photos, her father bought her back with lies and money I once earned. So I stopped fighting. I canceled the checks. I signed the custody release. I deleted her name from my emergency contacts, not because I stopped loving her, but because she chose a performance over a parent. And life has a cruel way of proving who is right. I remember the exact moment I chose silence. It was a Tuesday. Lena had just posted a photo with Sandra, the woman who used to sign checks to keep me away. The caption said, "Lucky to have a real mom now." She was smiling, wearing the pearl necklace I bought her for her 13th birthday. Sandra stood beside her in a designer dress holding a cake I paid for. And just like that, I stopped crying. The grief hardened into something quieter, sharper. I called my lawyer. "Terminate the monthly transfer. I'm done paying to be erased. Marcus, my ex-husband, called the next day. You're cutting her off. Seriously, she's still your daughter." "No, Marcus," I said. "She's your reflection now. Enjoy the view." He laughed, a smug, satisfied sound. "She's better off with us. You were always too intense, too cold." Sandra balances her. I didn't respond. Because he wasn't wrong, I had gone cold, but only after burning for too long. That weekend, I boxed up Lena's old toys. The stuffed dolphin, the ballet shoes, the homemade Mother's Day cards with too much glitter and not enough spelling. I didn't cry. I just sealed the box, labeled it Archive, and slid it under my bed. Let her new family make room for what I carried alone. At first, I thought she'd come back, that maybe the shine of Sandra's fake affection would wear off, that maybe Marcus would slip up and she'd remember who cleaned up her vomit and paid for her braces and stayed up every night during finals week. But weeks turned to months, and silence stayed loyal, until the phone rang one night, a number I didn't recognize, a voice I almost didn't believe. "Mom," she whispered. "I need help." "Mom," she whispered, "I need help." I froze, not from panic, not from hope, but from the quiet calculation of a woman who had nothing left to give away for free. "Where are you?" I asked. She hesitated. "Somewhere outside Miami." I'm in a motel. My phone's dying. What happened?" Another pause. "Dad." He introduced me to someone, a friend, said he was a business partner. My blood turned to ice. He said we were just going to dinner, but then he left. The guy locked the door. I jumped from the balcony. My hand tightened around the phone. "I'm pregnant," she added. "But I think something's wrong." In the silence that followed, I remembered everything. Every time Marcus said I was too controlling, too protective. Every time Lena rolled her eyes at my warnings. Every time Sandra smiled like butter wouldn't melt and whispered, "You need to loosen up, Marissa." And I remembered Lena's words, too. She listens to me. She respects me. She lets me be who I am. Now she was bleeding alone in a motel because someone let her be bait. "Do you want me to come get you?" I asked flat. Silence. Then I don't know. There it was. She didn't want me. She wanted a parachute. And I wasn't a parachute anymore. I breathed in. "No," I said. "I'm not coming." Her gasp sliced through the line. "But Mom, please, I don't have anyone else." "You had me," I said quietly, "and you chose someone else," repeatedly. I let that land. "Call your father." Call your stepmom. See if their love covers motel bills and medical care." I hung up, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty, just free. 3 days passed. No more calls, no texts, no updates from hospitals, no social media posts. The girl who once live-streamed her breakfasts had vanished, and so had Marcus, which was interesting, because Marcus never missed a chance to gloat, especially when things got messy and I wasn't there to clean it up. Then on the 4th day, a letter arrived, certified legal envelope. The return address was a private rehab facility in Tampa. Inside a medical report, Lena, 19 weeks pregnant, hospitalized for blunt force trauma, internal bleeding, emergency abortion. No note, no apology, just a signature line, Marcus Caldwell, legal guardian. I booked an appointment with my attorney that afternoon. "Are you ready to file?" she asked. I nodded. "Parental negligence." "No," I said. "Intentional endangerment, financial fraud, emotional coercion, and civil conspiracy." My lawyer blinked. "Marissa, that's gonna trial. You know that, right?" I looked her straight in the eye. "I'm not filing to negotiate. I'm filing to convict." The documents were served the next morning, to Marcus's office, to Sandra's email, and to Lena's hospital room, sealed with a note. "This isn't revenge. This is the legal value of betrayal." They tried to fight it, of course. Sandra went online crying on TikTok, painting herself as just a misunderstood stepmom. Marcus released a statement about complex family dynamics and parental alienation. But the court didn't care, because I had proof, screenshots, bank records, witnesses, surveillance footage. Marcus had sold Lena off for debt relief. Sandra had coached her to lie. And the man they introduced her to, he was already under investigation in 2 states. The judge didn't hesitate. Marcus's assets were frozen. Sandra's name was blacklisted from every educational board she sat on. And Lena, she was placed under state care for her own safety. And I walked out of the courtroom, heels steady, heart silent. They moved her to a trauma recovery center in Tallahassee. Private room, no visitors, no phone, just 4 white walls and a state-appointed therapist who didn't care if she cried or cursed, only that she spoke. Lena refused for the first week, sat on her bed, silent, staring at the ceiling like it had answers. She'd gotten used to applause, to hearts on Instagram, to a father who turned every mistake into a joke, and a stepmother who smoothed every mess with a credit card and compliments. Now nothing, just silence, and a truth she couldn't mute. The nightmares started in week 2. The locked door, the man with heavy hands, the baby she never saw but still felt. She woke up gasping, screaming. The nurses didn't scold her. They didn't pity her either. They just handed her a towel and waited for her to clean her own mess. In therapy, she finally spoke. "I picked the wrong mom." The therapist raised an eyebrow. "Tell me why. She was prettier, nicer. She didn't say no." Did that make her better? "No," Lena whispered. It made her fake. Silence. Then, "Do you want your real mom back?" Lena shook her head. "Not yet." She wrote a letter instead. Didn't send it, just folded it, tucked it into her journal. It read, "I used to think you were harsh. Now I know you were honest. I used to hate your rules. Now I'd trade everything to hear one more of them. I don't deserve you, and maybe I never did, but I'm trying to deserve myself again." Marissa never saw the letter, and maybe she never will. But Lena wrote it anyway. Because not all forgiveness has an audience. Some of it happens quietly between the broken girl and the woman she still hopes to become. I sold the house. The one Lena grew up in. The one with the height chart penciled on the pantry wall and the cracked tile in the hallway where she first fell on her scooter. I sold it without walking through it one last time, because I already knew some places echo louder when you stay too long. I moved into a small condo with hardwood floors and no ghosts, no framed photos, no childhood art, no drawers full of just-in-case-she-comes-back things, just clean walls, clean air, and space to breathe. People asked how I could do it. She's still your daughter. Don't you miss her? Won't you regret cutting her off? I always answered the same way I didn't cut her off. She walked out. I just stopped holding the door open. I started painting again. Landscapes mostly. Wide skies, sharp cliffs, oceans with no horizon. Someone once asked me why none of them had people. I said, because they're already full. Sandra tried to reach out once. A handwritten card sealed in gold-embossed stationery. Please consider giving her another chance. We're all human. You're still her mother. I burned it. Not in anger. In closure. I still remember Lena's voice sometimes. Her laughter as a child. Her sharp tongue as a teenager. Her final call, trembling, desperate, too late. But it no longer haunts me. It just exists. Like old weather. I'm not waiting for her anymore. Not for an apology. Not for a return. Not even for forgiveness. Some ties don't break, they disintegrate, and when they do, what's left is freedom. It came in an email, subject line, panel opportunity, rebuilding after ruin, the sender, a nonprofit I once donated to anonymously back when I still believed saving others might save me. They wanted me to speak, not about parenting, not about trauma, but about ownership, of stories, of silence, of survival. I almost declined, not out of fear, but because I didn't owe anyone my pain anymore, not to validate it, not to inspire with it. But something about the tone was different. We've followed your journey. If you're ready to speak for yourself, not your daughter, not your past, we'll listen. So I said yes. The event was small, not cameras and lights, just chairs and women, most of them wearing the quiet exhaustion of people who've carried too much for too long. I spoke about limits, about how letting go isn't cruel, how silence isn't always absence, sometimes it's healing, how motherhood isn't a chain, it's a choice, and choices can expire. They didn't clap right away. They just breathed deeper. That was enough. Afterward, a woman approached me. Short gray curls, steady eyes, wearing a gold ring without a diamond. She said I left my son after he stole from me for the 5th time. People said I'd regret it. Do you? I asked. She smiled. No. But I still needed someone to show me that not regretting is allowed. We didn't exchange numbers. We just nodded. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel singular. I felt sovereign. That night, I walked home alone, stopped for a cinnamon tea, laughed with the barista, didn't check my phone once. I wasn't waiting on anyone, not a man, not a daughter, not redemption, just the next day and the next version of me. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when the knock came, not frantic, not urgent, just intentional. I opened the door to find Ethan Brooks. We hadn't spoken in 5 years, not since he and I both walked away from the same church group, him toward a quiet divorce, me into full-blown collapse. He looked older, not worn, just settled. Like someone who had stopped chasing closure and started building calm. I saw your name on the speaker list, he said. Didn't expect it, honestly. Neither did I replied. You want to come in? He paused. Only if I don't need to fix anything. I smiled. Then come in. We talked. About books, about growing herbs, about the time he lost custody for being too soft and how he never got it back. No forced sympathy, no comparisons, just two people who had made peace with not being perfect parents and were still good people anyway. At one point he asked, "Do you think you'll ever try again?" Family, I mean. Some version of it. I poured more tea, thought for a while, then said, "If I ever do it, won't be to fill something. It'll be because the life I built is strong enough to share." He nodded like he understood, because he did. When he left, he didn't ask to see me again. He didn't linger, just said, "I'm around. You know where I am." No pressure, no pursuit, just permission. That night, I sat with my planner open, flipped to a blank month, wrote 2 words in the square for next Friday. Maybe dinner. No name, no confirmation, just room. I saw her from the window, hair shorter, face thinner, shoulders curled like someone who had stopped asking the world to make room. Lena, standing at the corner of my building clutching something like it was an apology that didn't know how to speak. She didn't ring the bell. She didn't text. She just stood there, watching. Maybe waiting, maybe not. I made tea, sat by the window, watched her watching. It was a strange peace knowing I didn't owe her anything and she finally knew it too. After 17 minutes, she turned to leave. But halfway down the block, she stopped, pulled something from her coat and tucked it under the flower pot near my door. Then she walked away, not slowly, not dramatically, just quietly. I waited a full hour before I opened the door. Under the pot, a small envelope. No name, no address, just a note inside. "I don't expect anything from you. I don't blame you. I hope one day you're proud of who I become, even if you never see it." No tears, no mom, just ink restraint, and maybe finally understanding. I didn't reply, not because I was cold, but because some doors once shut aren't locked. They're just not meant to open again, and that's okay. Because not every goodbye is cruel. Some are just complete. Thanksgiving used to be chaos, burnt casseroles, overcooked turkey, and Lena always asking why we didn't do real holidays like other families. Now it was 2 place settings, 1 pie and peace. Ethan brought wine. I made stew. No what are we talk. No pressure to perform gratitude, just laughter over mismatched spoons and a toast that went to quiet, to clean slates, to showing up when no one's clapping. Mid-meal, my neighbor's kid knocked on the door. Daisy, 9 years old, part-time Storm, full-time truth teller. Miss Caldwell, she said, "My brother ate my cornbread and said you were too serious." Ethan laughed. I didn't. I handed her 2 slices and said, "Tell him seriousness comes with seconds." After she left, Ethan said, "You'd make a good mom again." I paused, then answered, not softly, not bitterly, just clear. I don't need to be a mom to matter, but if I ever choose it again, it'll be on my terms. He nodded. Like always, no rush, no rescue. Just recognition. That night, I sat at my window, cup of tea in hand, and rewrote the word family in my mind. Not about DNA, not about titles, just about presence. Who shows up? Who stays? Who lets you be full without emptying yourself? That was enough, for now, and maybe forever. The letter came in spring. Not from Lena, not from Marcus, not even from Ethan. It was from the state. You are eligible for reapplication of full parental guardianship. Subject Lena Caldwell, age 17. I read it once, then again, then set it aside. I didn't cry, didn't clutch it, didn't run to make tea and wonder what if. because I'd already made peace with what was. Later that night, Ethan asked, "You okay?" I nodded. "I'm not her mother anymore. I'm just a woman who did her best. That's enough." He didn't argue. He just squeezed my hand, and for the first time, it didn't feel like comfort. It felt like agreement. Weeks passed. I kept the letter in a drawer, never opened it again. Some things don't need to be burned or displayed. They just need to be put away without guilt. On my 43rd birthday, I took myself out for breakfast. Pancakes, black coffee, no phone. The waitress smiled and asked, "Celebrating something?" I smiled back. "Yes," I said. Everything I survived. Outside, a mother chased her toddler across the sidewalk, laughed, tripped, caught her daughter mid-fall. I didn't ache. I didn't flinch. I just watched. Then I walked the other way. Not to escape, just because I could.